Princess Catherine appeared noticeably emotional as she delivered a sincere message of gratitude following what she later described as a deeply meaningful and personal journey to Italy. Her expression, often composed and carefully controlled in public appearances, seemed softer this time, as if the experience had touched something more personal beneath the royal formality. The moment quickly drew attention, not only because of what she said, but because of how visibly moved she seemed while saying it. What truly surprised royal observers, however, was not only the princess herself, but the reaction she received from ordinary Italian citizens. What was originally planned as a standard diplomatic royal visit began to transform into something far more emotional and human in nature. Crowds that gathered along her route did not respond with formal politeness alone. They responded with genuine warmth, admiration, and in many cases, visible emotion. Families, children, and local residents described her in strikingly personal terms. Many referred to her as approachable, sincere, and remarkably grounded despite her global status. Some even commented that she seemed far removed from the distant image often associated with royalty, instead appearing like someone they could easily speak to, relate to, and trust. These reactions spread quickly beyond the streets of Italy, finding their way into international media coverage and online discussions. For royal watchers, this response was unexpected in its intensity. While public interest in Princess Catherine has always been significant, especially given her role within the British monarchy, this particular moment stood out. It wasn't just admiration from a distance. It was emotional connection expressed openly by people who had only briefly encountered her. This wave of reaction became even more striking when placed against the broader backdrop of recent months. The world had been closely following updates about her health and gradual return to public duties, making every appearance she made more closely observed than before. Against this context, her visit to Italy carried additional emotional weight even before she arrived. What began as an official engagement slowly evolved into something far more personal in the eyes of the public. Instead of focusing solely on formal duties, the narrative surrounding the visit shifted toward human connection, empathy, and emotional presence. The princess was no longer being seen only through the lens of royal responsibility, but also through the experiences of those who met her face to face. And it is within this atmosphere that her emotional message of thanks gained its deeper meaning, an acknowledgement not just of protocol, but of the genuine human warmth she encountered throughout her journey. As the Italy visit continued, it became increasingly clear that the engagement would be remembered for far more than its official purpose. Princess Catherine's presence carried a quiet but powerful emotional impact wherever she went. Her interactions were not rushed or mechanical. Instead, they unfolded with a calm attentiveness that people around her seemed to notice immediately. Following the conclusion of the tour, she issued a heartfelt statement expressing gratitude to the Italian people. In her message, she described the experience as unforgettable, a sentiment that reflected not only diplomatic appreciation, but also personal emotional resonance. The tone of her words suggested that the visit had affected her on a deeper level than routine public duties typically allow. Observers watching footage from the trip noted something particularly distinctive in her behavior. She moved through each engagement with patience, pausing often to engage directly with those she met. Rather than passing quickly from one scheduled moment to another, she appeared willing to remain present in each interaction, even if only briefly. Whether speaking with children, listening to educators, or observing learning environments, she consistently demonstrated attentiveness. Her expressions were natural rather than rehearsed, and her body language suggested comfort rather than obligation. This created an atmosphere where people around her, especially children, seemed equally relaxed in her presence. It was this mutual ease that stood out most strongly. The children she interacted with did not appear intimidated or distant. Instead, they responded to her with openness, curiosity, and comfort. This kind of reaction is often seen as a reflection of how approachable a public figure feels in real life, beyond official titles or formal roles. Italian media outlets quickly highlighted this warmth, describing her demeanor as emotionally engaging and authentic. The coverage emphasized not only her status as a royal visitor, but also her ability to connect across cultural and generational boundaries. One particularly striking comment from a local resident captured the broader sentiment forming around her visit. They suggested that Italians, known for their expressive and emotional nature, felt a natural connection with her presence. That idea resonated widely online, as many people felt it explained the emotional tone that seemed to define the entire visit. Rather than being remembered solely for official meetings or formal appearances, the trip began to be associated with something softer and more human: shared emotion, brief but meaningful encounters, and a sense of mutual recognition between a public figure and the people she met. Among all the moments captured during the Italy visit, the most memorable scenes were often the simplest ones: a gentle smile exchanged with a child, a brief pause to listen more carefully, a quiet moment of understanding that lasted only a few seconds in reality, yet carried enough emotional weight to be replayed and discussed across social platforms for days afterward. These small gestures became central to how the visit was interpreted by the public. Rather than focusing on large speeches or formal ceremonies, attention shifted toward these subtle interactions that revealed a more personal side of Princess Catherine. Each moment seemed unplanned, yet deeply impactful in its sincerity. One of the key highlights of the visit was her time in Reggio Emilia, a northern Italian city widely recognized for its innovative approach to early childhood education. The setting itself carried symbolic meaning, aligning closely with her long-standing interest in child development and educational environments. This alignment made the visit feel especially purposeful, even beyond its official diplomatic framework. For years, early childhood learning has been a consistent focus in her public work, and this engagement reinforced that commitment. However, what distinguished this visit from previous ones was not the subject matter itself, but the emotional tone that accompanied it. Observers noted that her presence felt more grounded, more reflective, and more personally engaged than in many earlier appearances. As she moved through classrooms and outdoor learning spaces, cameras captured repeated patterns in her behavior. She did not appear distracted or hurried. Instead, she consistently slowed down, observing carefully, listening attentively, and responding with visible interest to what children and educators were sharing with her. This created a noticeable contrast with the fast-paced nature of many official royal engagements, where schedules often dictate movement from one event to another. In this case, however, the pace felt deliberately softer, allowing space for genuine interaction. The result was a series of moments that, while brief individually, collectively formed a powerful impression. They suggested not only professional engagement with educational themes, but also a personal investment in the experiences unfolding in front of her. As the visit continued to unfold in the public eye, emotional responses began to intensify, particularly online, where clips and photographs circulated widely. Many viewers remarked on the consistent warmth visible in every interaction, noting how natural and unforced her behavior appeared throughout the trip. Princess Catherine's presence seemed to create an atmosphere of ease wherever she went. People who met her, even briefly, often described feeling an unexpected sense of connection. This was especially evident among families and children, who appeared comfortable engaging with her without hesitation. Italian media coverage reinforced this impression, frequently emphasizing her openness and emotional accessibility. Reports described her as someone who did not maintain unnecessary distance, despite her royal status, and instead engaged in a way that felt grounded and sincere. One comment that gained particular attention highlighted the emotional character of Italian culture itself, suggesting that this shared expressiveness may have contributed to the strong connection felt during her visit. This observation quickly spread across social platforms, where many users agreed that the emotional tone of the encounter felt especially authentic. However, beyond the public reaction, The most powerful elements of the visit remained rooted in simplicity. There were no dramatic speeches or staged moments dominating the narrative. Instead, the emotional impact came from subtle gestures, listening attentively, smiling gently, and responding with calm presence. These seemingly small details accumulated into something much larger in public perception. They shaped the overall impression of a royal figure who was not distant or detached, but instead visibly engaged with the people around her. At the same time, this visit also carried a deeper significance due to its timing. It marked one of her first major international engagements, following the public disclosure of her cancer diagnosis earlier in the year. This context inevitably shaped how the public viewed her return to duties. For many supporters, each appearance now carried additional emotional weight. It was not only about royal responsibilities, but also about resilience, recovery, and the courage to return to public life under intense global attention. The emotional resonance of the Italy visit was amplified further by the personal journey Princess Catherine has been navigating over the past months. Her gradual return to public duties had already been a subject of global attention, with many watching closely for signs of how she would re-engage with her responsibilities. During the period following her diagnosis, public discussion often focused on concern for her health and uncertainty about the future. Questions circulated widely about when she might return fully to official engagements and what form that return would take. Against that backdrop, her appearance in Italy carried a sense of quiet significance. It was not framed as a dramatic comeback, but rather as a steady and composed step forward. This approach, understated yet intentional, shaped how many people interpreted the visit. What stood out most was her composure. Even while carrying personal challenges, she presented herself with calm consistency, choosing not to turn her recovery into a public spectacle. Instead, she allowed her actions and presence to speak for themselves. For many observers, this balance between vulnerability and strength became the defining feature of the entire visit. It demonstrated that personal struggle and public responsibility can exist side by side without one overshadowing the other. This perspective resonated strongly with audiences, particularly those who have followed her journey over the years. Many saw in her behavior a reflection of quiet resilience, an ability to continue moving forward while maintaining dignity and emotional stability. As the visit concluded, attention turned to broader reflections about the role of modern royalty. The emotional reactions from Italy, combined with global responses online, sparked discussions about what people now expect from public figures in such positions. In the end, the Italy visit became more than an official engagement. It became a moment defined by human connection, emotional presence, and subtle strength, qualities that left a lasting impression far beyond the formal boundaries of royal duty.